So, let's all of us dream big.
And that is so much more haunting when you know America's backstory from the DLC. Because it's like, that could be metaphorical, or it could be the idea that there is some form of consciousness still, even when they're at this state where they've become a different being. Alright, where are we going to drop these stats? Oh, 30 endurance sounds like it'd be nice. So there's one more dungeon I keep forgetting about. So there's one more dungeon. I'm just going to ride over to the location. And this dungeon will actually... This is what will finish up Killin. There's a putrid avatar. Is it a putrid avatar? There's an ulcerated tree spirit in this dungeon down here. And that marks the end of Killin. But I'm not going to do that right now. I will wrap up Killin next time. But this place, man, it just kind of makes me want... What is that gold thing up there? Can I get to whatever that is? Is that a site of grace? I'll have to investigate that later. It makes you just think, you know, what was this huge... Like, this looks like a huge, like, Roman Colosseum. You know, and the fact that there's, like, a catacomb all the way over here. Like, this place is in ruins. So this spot here probably was a site of some amazing renown. And you got, like, a ruined ship off in the distance there, too, I believe. And so you just have this kind of haunting... I would have actually loved if there was no music in this area. So the original Dark Souls trilogy didn't really have much music, just boss fights. I would have loved if there was no music in this area. And it was just like this haunting expanse that you ride through. And you can think about like Gerard of Amber, Radon sending off his fleets to sea. And God, this place just in its glory would have just been so amazing. And then you think about what it's become now and Radon's madness. And I mean, so America tore families apart, absolutely, and it's this continued cycle, right, of the destruction of these families and this existence, where it's this continued cycle. I was gonna stop here, but this isn't a very long dungeon. I don't think it's an annoying dungeon, but it's not a very long one. And here you have like the ghosts of all these warriors that are still just battling it out in the hereafter. And I think the lore here, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the lore here is that these warriors willingly chose to become these ghosts to continue battling, even in their death. Ow. I figured I was getting within striking distance, but... Is there another archer over here? Is that what's happening? I believe the lore is that they chose this existence to continue their battle in the hereafter. I don't know if ghosts are just wholly resistant, or if this is just, like... Well, I mean, not... I don't know, I'm tired. And I believe that's good night. That's a fun move, and the DLC has like an enhanced version of that move somewhere. Okay, I gotta keep an eye out, because I don't really remember where to go. I just remember this is a little bit of a trick dungeon. I might have needed to jump down there. Ow. There's somewhere at some point that I want to jump down. I'm gonna hazard that it's here, maybe? I might have just hosed myself. Scarlet Rot, Clean Rot Knight. Okay, where is the lever? Oh good, I was really hoping you would fall. Okay, so here's the lever. Although now you're in my way. Okay. Let's go this away. Excusey. I don't really know where I'm going. Back there, I think. Maybe? I'm turned around now. Let's go this way. I don't think this is the right way, but let's go this way. Yeah, that's the entrance to the dungeon. That's not the right way. No, what I want to do is take a straight shot here, I guess. I think there might be a talisman here also, I don't recall. I don't even remember what encounter. Oh, yeah, okay. I was like, I already forgot what encounter. Again, guys, BBK broke me. BBK has turned this into such a mentally and emotionally exhausting session. You're holy resistant. I was about to open up throwing blades, then I was like, right, you resist holy. What would be ideal? Oh, I've been grabbed. You know what? Never mind. Okay, well. I mean, catch flame would be ideal, but I literally forgot about that mouth grab attack. So we're just off to a really rough start. I mean, at least they can bleed. Oh, wait. No, they can't. Can they bleed? I don't think putreds bleed. I think my damage output was actually better with the scythe. Oh, I dodged too late. Well. Yeah, there is a way, but I don't have time to do the way. Yeah, it's just, if I'd been able to get to my rune arc in time, I could have actually I could have actually done that if I'd gotten to my rune arc in time, but I Okay. Let's lock in. Oh man. Alright. We do this, then we're done with Killin. We do this, then we're done with Killin. It's like a prayer, it's like a mantra, it's like a petition, it's like do this and we're done with Killin. One more job and then I'm out. One more job and then I'm out. I don't even know why I drank my magic potion way back there. Beyond that, I'm just so exhausted right now. But one more job and then I'm out. I disagree. I hard disagree. Now that was my fault, as was that. Oh god, maybe I should take a break. I would just really rather put Killin behind me, is the thing. Well, I dodged at the wrong timing. I swear I hit the dodge button. I mean, obviously I didn't, but... okay. Just kill me. Oh, you do bleed. Oh, you whip around twice. Whew. Okay. Now we're done with Caled. And I think... Let me just grab that. It's empty. But I think if I look at Redmane Knight Oga... Spirit of a mighty knight versed in the use of a great bow, valiant warrior who will attack immediately after being summoned, the longest-serving member of the Redmane Knights. Oga studied techniques to manipulate gravity alongside Radon. May use a rain of gravitational arrows in response to a warp cry, but only once. I didn't know you could trigger that. So that means, like, Oga was with Radon from Jump, and then you've got his childhood friend whose name I'm blanking on, Gaius, I want to say. But I did the boss of Celia, right? I just forgot to mark that. Celia Hideaway. I know I did the Celia Hideaway boss, but I just want to double check myself real quick because I don't see a marker there. Who's the boss of Celia Hideaway? Yeah, okay. It was a little bit of a heart attack moment. This has been a very exhausting recording session. I had to do like the two boss fights that I'm really not great at. It was a very exhausting session, but that's Killin done now. So next we get to go into what is going to be considerably jauntier, which is going to be the God, I'm so exhausted. How long have I been recording? A 4-hour session. It's not even the length of recording this time that got me. It's BBK, man. That was a doorstop of a boss fight. But yeah, we're done with Killin. So now we got to do Altus and Volcano Manor. And actually, we could go ahead and knock out Randy's quest line if we wanted to as well. I'm trying to think, does Randy's quest line take me anywhere that I would break region locking? I mean, I guess the thing would be if I were going to go ahead and do Randy's quest line. Oh yeah, no, I said I was going to do Siofra. And I guess it would be fitting to do Siofra and Randy's quest line in one go. So maybe that's the thing. The only thing with Randy's quest is I don't know how long I have to play to be able to not have Fia's quest be super obnoxious to do. But I'm so exhausted right now. So I will either be doing Altus Volcano Manor next, or I'll be doing Siofra and Randy's quest line next. But in any case, I hope you guys are enjoying this. I'm enjoying doing it for you, even when I've got to lose to BBK 20 times in a row, or 30, or however many times it was. So as always, this is Eugene the author saying, you're awesome, be amazing, you already are. Take care, dreamers. Hello, dreamers, we are back. So I decided that we were actually, before we do this zone, we're actually going to go ahead and knock out Siofra, because the longer we play, like the more we're outpacing the difficulty of this region. So before we actually do anything in Altus, which would lock us into being an Altus, I want to go ahead and knock out Siofra. There was a closer side of grace. What am I doing? God, I'm still shuddering just thinking how much time we spent getting floored by BBK. So here we are in Siofra, which we can see these beautiful constellations, and also kind of almost like the sky is cracked under here. But it's an artificial night sky, so we may actually be looking at the rock formations up above. There's 2 boss encounters that we can get into here. I'll go ahead and grab the map real quick, and also there's a pretty decent shield up here for anybody who wants it. But the idea, and we're going to see more of this come to fruition in Night Rain, the idea of this location, well, I presume we're going to see more in Night Rain, seeing as the trailer pretty clearly called out that we're going to be dealing with the people of the night that were subverted by Marika's will at the behest of the Outer Will. But the people of the night were driven down here and persecuted and just wiped out almost to the last. And so there's a lot of interesting things to take into account with the design of this location and the enemies that are down here. We've got these electric sentinel type things roaming around, we've got these giant crabs, but we also kind of have these remnants of those that were perhaps part of the people that worshipped here. We have these ancestors, but then in other underground night cities, sister cities if you will, we have the actual songstress, the Nox songstress, and the ministers and all that jazz. So there's a lot to consider about the lore implications of this region, and also kind of this idea of nature kind of reclaiming its territory and running a little bit rampant here, which is, I think, about rampancy. I've been rediscovering Mandalore Gaming's series on Marathon and the connected Bungie universe. That's a crazy rabbit hole to go down. I had a lot of fun playing Marathon as a kid when I was way too young to comprehend anything going on narratively with that experience. So it's cool to watch those lore breakdowns and kind of get a feel for what they were trying to accomplish with the story. So we've got to go. We have 2 boss fights here. And I think what I'm going to probably do is light all the lanterns before I go and deal with the Dragonkin soldier here. So we have, I want to say, like 6 or 8 lanterns that we have to light to be able to trigger the Ancestor Spirit boss fight. And then we have a harder version of that boss fight much later in the game as well. But we could go here, I believe. Actually, as long as we're over here. No, this isn't the one. One of these takes you up to where the Dragonkin boss fight is. I think it's this one actually takes you up to the Dragonkin boss fight. And I'm like, you know what? I may as well just go ahead and knock it out real quick. That was rude. I can slap people too. Except for, unlike you, I don't, you know, get them when they're... I don't blindside. I absolutely blindside. I'm sure I blindsided quite a few enemies in this game. So this takes you over to where you can duel the Dragonkin soldier, which is one of the boss fights for this location. And we're just going to ride around here. The reason why I kind of didn't want to do this first is because I'm going to... I should have snagged the side of Grace to make this a little less obnoxious. But this guy shouldn't give us too much trouble. He probably is holy resist, but I know he's not bleed resist.
There is something else. When the big man was killed, you must have wounded it. Its blood was on the leaves.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
I actually don't even know what's in my thing. You know what? I'd rather try to proc bleed, actually. Yeah, I don't really even know what's in my Flask of Wondrous Physic. It's been a while since I played this. Oh, I should have dodged. That's fine. Let's just go ahead and say goodnight. Alright. Boss fight down. So if you're daring enough to come and deal with this fight early, this weapon that you get, the Dragon Halberd, is actually a lot of fun to use. I don't think we meet the stat requirements to wield it, or I'd show you its, yeah, we don't meet the strength requirement for this weapon by any measure, but it's a lot of fun to wield. Alright, so we have Marika's Scar Seal. Let's go ahead and just take a quick look at that Scar Seal. Go down, thank you. So we had Radagon's Scar Seal already, which... an eye engraved with an Elden rune, said to be the seal of King Consort Radagon. Raises vigor, blah 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 blah. These seals represent the lifelong duty of those chosen by the gods. And Marika's says something similar, said to be the seal of Queen Marika, an eye engraved with an Elden rune. So it's interesting, again, we have this ocular imagery with the game. Now, I don't think there's really a way to get back to where we were from up here. There may be. I've never actually tried to get back to where I was from this boss fight, so there may be a way to get back down there. Let's just go around and see. Oh, I forgot to start my timer. How long have I been recording? I got this little handy thing to help me tell how long I'm recording for, so I can kind of help space out my timing a little better, because inevitably what I end up doing, because I typically am recording like an entire region in one go, so inevitably what keeps ending up happening for me is that, oh, okay, interesting, is that I'll finish a marathon recording session, and I'll end up having like just enough content for half of an episode left over, so I'm going to use this to kind of try to help. Now granted, usually I'm so mentally and emotionally exhausted by the time I get to that point that I don't even want to play anymore. Especially when I throw to BBK, what was it, like 12 times, 13 times? So, yeah, I typically am not in a position to really want to keep playing. But this will help me kind of gauge out, you know, how much additional footage I would need to get another full episode out.
Stop! He's already dead!
I knew this was going to be an interesting session. Let me just go ahead and do this real quick. I knew this was going to be an interesting session because I am... Does this violate the region lock? So this takes me back up to Killin, and this is why I was trying to remember to do this area before, because it takes you up to fight the Great Jar's Arsenal, which is super annoying, but also not technically a boss encounter. It's just it's a summons fight. We can use the Side of Grace to come back here. But beating the Great Jar Warrior gets you the Great Jar's Arsenal Talisman, which is very useful, especially with the stat spread that we have right now. This is what I was talking about too, and obviously like I'm not really putting a great deal of effort into trying to avoid these arrows, but this is kind of what I was talking about, where the first time you do this region, you're like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing, and there's like a city underground, and look at the night sky, and I went down this crazy long elevator, but now I'm here. But like when you play the game enough times, you come back here and you're just like, the glory and the majesty and the wonder wears off, and all you remember is the snipers who won't leave you the crap alone. Snipers and rats everywhere. Okay, I knew that. I was like, there's another one over here. I've never done this, like, I've never lit these braziers in the reverse order, so I'm a little bit turned around. I believe there's some Trina lilies scattered about here. I know there are some in Nokron or Noxella, whichever one is over there. I don't know what this scarab gets you. Oh, but yeah, I knew this was going to be an interesting session also, because like I did not sleep last night, and I'm coming off of, without hyperbole, 2 weeks straight of only sleeping for about a half an hour a night. So, funny story. So my mom is she's a aromatherapist, and she does homeopathic medicine, homeopathic remedies and whatnot. And so I grew up watching her, you know, do all these awesome apothecary things. And my sister followed her footsteps more than I did. I kind of followed my dad more the martial arts route, and my sister followed my mom in the homeopathic route, but we each had some crossover there. And so there are certain things that I tangentially know their purpose. So like the lavender essential oil I know is great, you know, for healing wounds, healing scars. It's great for heart health and your immune system, for example. So one of the things is I know the peppermint essential oil is great for like focus, but I really did not pay attention beyond that. So if you didn't know, peppermint essential oil, if you ever want to give up coffee and tea and you want to stay awake without it, peppermint essential oil will get you sorted. And you put it in a diffuser, and you just, you know, you run that through your diffuser, and that'll give you the energy that you need to get through your day. I did not realize it was as potent as it was, or that it specifically had that, you know, keep you awake effect. And so my mom got me this diffuser, like one of the ones she uses for her business, for Christmas. And so it came with eucalyptus essential oil, and it came with peppermint essential oil. And I had been using the peppermint essential oil with the diffuser on like its maximum setting, which is like for a room significantly bigger than the one that I'm in while I'm staying in town taking care of family. And so basically the diffuser is running full strength 24/7 with peppermint essential oil, and I have insomnia anyways. I've had insomnia since I was a kid, but then you combine that I'm just mainlining this incredibly potent essential oil that's meant to keep you awake. So needless to say, I did not sleep. I literally, in that half an hour a night that I was getting, that half an hour was like spread throughout the day. So it would be like I'd catch 10 minutes at night, I'd catch, you know, 10 minutes on my lunch break at my day job, I'd catch, you know, 10 minutes. So I just was not sleeping. I was so tired. So we realized that's what was going on. And we switched over, you know, from the lavender essential oil to, or from peppermint to lavender, which will help, you know, calm your mind and aid you with sleep. And I finally started getting some sleep. But last night, I did not sleep a wink. And so I am very exhausted. So we're just going to see how well I play this session. So now we're at the Hallowhorn ground, and it's worth noting that there are some visual similarities between Torrent and these ancestral spirits, and it's been pretty much confirmed that Torrent is a baby ancestral spirit, or a very young ancestral spirit. And this Torrent's double jump animation, you'll note, is very similar to the leaping and pouncing animation that the ancestor spirit and the regal ancestral spirit both employ. I really should have stopped to see what is in my Wondrous Physic. I have no idea. Boost damage negation and stamina recovery speed. Okay. That's fine. I mean, I would really kind of prefer to have the stamina recovery mixed with enhanced stance break chances, but this is fine. See how that double jump animation is very similar to Torrent's jumping animation? Oh, I thought I could get it off before you got your attack off.
Oh my.
I don't recall if it's still in the game files or like in the description, or if it's something that was removed, but there's a description that basically implies that Torrent goes to the spirit world whenever, you know, he's downed. I couldn't tell if you were going to stomp or if you were going to kick behind you. Alright, down. And this is why I was trying to like remember to do this area sooner, because we're a little overpowered for these encounters. But that's Siofra. We can knock that off the list. That's the only 2 encounters at Siofra. And you can see like the skeleton of all these various other creatures that are here. And when we fight the regal ancestral spirit later, you'll see the spirits of other animals around. And there's a really cool Saint Trina moment that calls out to that in the DLC as well. But actually, let me go ahead and remove all these markers for Killin as well. The last thing that we're going to do before we call it done for this section is we're going to go ahead and ride that elevator up to Killin. Let's see, I had about 17 minutes in the other episode left over, so this will wrap up this episode. We're going to go ahead and ride the elevator back up to Killin, and we will deal with the Great Jar's warriors. And that'll wrap this episode, and that'll get us a talisman that we may not use, but it's just handy to have. There's a few talismans that are nice to have on a build like this, so since I've got the helmet on, I'm at that 51 poise breakpoint. Without the helmet, I would need the Bullgoat's talisman to hit that poise breakpoint. And what it is that there's certain stats are kind of weird in Elden Ring, and that stats only kind of matter when they're over a certain amount, or they stop mattering when they're over a certain amount. So poise is pretty meaningless until you get it over 50. 51 is the poise break point, which allows you to basically tank like at least one of most hits that come your way. And that allows you to, you tank that hit, which means that you can attack through that hit. And it's useful for if you have something that requires you to be able to get hit but still get your attack off. I don't really know what the next poise break point is, but I know, like, so 51 is what you aim for. So if I weren't gonna wear the helmet, let's see. What do we want to do? Give me 1 sec. Let me see what stats I need for the next weapon I'm going to get. Okay, so I'm going to need 23 strength. I'm going to respec when it's time to get the Envoy's Longhorn, because it's kind of a goofy amount of stats that I would need to shift around to be able to wield it. I would need at this point to get like 7 points into strength to be able to wield that weapon. So I have some point that I accidentally put into intelligence and some other areas that I didn't mean to put points in. So for the time being, though, I am going to actually level strength. Maybe we'll just straight up level strength. I'd like to get to 50 vigor before we go to Shadow of the Erdtree. But the nice thing about the Halo Scythe is I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe the weapon itself does not deal faith damage. I believe the weapon deals strength damage. I could be wrong on that one, though. Some of these things, if you're curious how we find these things out, the game doesn't tell us. These are things that you either find out through experimenting, and you know, you would go up against a faith-resistant enemy, and you would kind of see how the weapon handles against them. Or what a lot of people have done the homework for so that we can have this knowledge.
I think you're kind of rude.
I did that too soon. What a lot of people have done so that we have this knowledge in the community is that they will go ahead and use the cheat engine to see exactly what kind of damage is being dealt by what kind of weapon. or they'll look at different damage tables that are inside the game itself. They'll data mine and look at the data tables inside the game itself, and that enables them to see, okay, you know, this weapon deals this much faith damage, this much strength damage, you know, this weapon scales off of this stat. So digging through those game files is how we get this information, because a lot of it is not readily available. So there's really kind of no other way you would know beyond a lot more experimentation than most of us have time to have. So, you know, give a thank you to the data miners out there that make our lives easier figuring out our builds in these games. And I love, too, just how open and supportive Miyazaki is of, like, the different tactics in the community. You know, Miyazaki's very much like, you know, hey, don't do anything that's going to ruin the experience for other people. But I know I've talked about before, Miyazaki's like, I'm not particularly good at this game, so I use everything at my disposal. I'm using spirit summons, I'm using wondrous physic, I'm calling other players to help me, I'm exploiting boss patterns, you know. And so Miyazaki's very much just like, get in where you fit in. So this is the Great Jar. So this makes me so curious, having played Shadow of the Erd Tree. So we have this Colosseum, and you can go to these Colosseums to do PvP battles, but this is a sentient Great Jar. And I have so many lore questions, because when we play Shadow of the Erd Tree, we find out that the living jars are made by America's people, horrifically abused and tortured and mistreated, and then shoved into these jars, and having this feature about their being that makes their flesh cloy to the flesh of other beings, to create this amalgam to make these new beings that the Hornsent believe that this is a path of maidenly ascension. And so that massacre and mistreatment and abuse of her people is really what drives America to just go on her genocidal slaughter against the Hornsent, and to fight through the lands between and make this bargain with the Outer Will that in turn leads to the events of this game. So we know that these living jars attain sentience from people being put inside of them. So you gotta wonder, what was felled and put into this jar? Was it just millions of people put into this jar to make this consciousness? Or was there some deific being that was felled and put in to create this jar? And who is this jar that they have these champions that they call forth for you to battle? So many lore things to consider. Okay, so you aren't horrible to fight. There's a couple ways to do this fight. I'm not going to do the exploit because it's very inconsistent. I might try it just once. We'll start with you because you're like the most obnoxious, but the exploit for this fight, just so you guys have something else in your toolkit, is to go up here, and if you're lucky, trying to get you, they'll just run and jump off the cliff. I think this is the tree, but that doesn't really consistently happen. Like, a lot of times that's what happens instead, and you will get just bodied off the cliff. So I don't feel like that exploit's really worth trying to do. This is the guy that I have the most trouble fighting of the Great Jar's arsenal. Owner, do I... Okay, so I do a stagger you, so this won't be as bad. See, but that's kind of that poise break I was talking about, where he's able to kind of poise through my attack. If he's already doing a particular move, he can poise through my attacking. So he's able to go without... So what you've got to do is kind of bait him and watch what he's doing, because you can break him out of certain moves, but if he's in a strong attack animation, you can't break him out of that. So you've got to really kind of be careful how you play against this guy. And already you see I've gone through like almost all my flasks, so I don't particularly love fighting the Great Jar's warriors. It's a very intense battle for me personally, but... So that's one down. The thing about this battle is you have to clear all 3 warriors in the arsenal in one go. But what's funny is that you do get experience. Okay, so this guy's the next annoying one, because he has this parry shield that he will use to tremendous effect. But he is also one of the ones I think that like will walk off the edge. Like the mace dude, I don't ever really see him walk off the edge. Let's see if this guy will run off the side. You got to be willing to really kind of put yourself out there. So yeah, he's not going to fall off. Look at how much damage they do. Like, it's just crazy amounts of damage. But you want him to kind of get his buckler shield put away, because he will parry you and just body you otherwise. So we want to kind of leverage getting our swing out in advance so that he... And it's cool though to fight, because I don't know that I've ever really fought another NPC that will try to guard counter. Maybe maybe what's his name that you can fight doing the Volcano Manor assassination quests. Which I decided, because a lot of these character quest lines are very globetrotty, I decided that I'm going to save... Let's see if we can pull this off. I've just had him successfully parry me, and now we're dead! Oh no! Well, that's a heck of a way to start this duel off. As I'm getting like a flurry of text messages at the same time. Okay, well, we're just gonna have to approach you very differently than I was going to. I'm out of go-go juice. And blue juice. I'm out of blue Kool-Aid and go-go juice.
Oh, yeah. Uh-oh. Huh?
And good night. Okay. I was like, well, you are just really good at parrying, aren't you? So now that you've defeated the Great Jar's warriors, you can go and talk to the Great Jar again, who's kind of glitching out, or maybe he always shakes like that. But now you have the Great Jar's arsenal, and he never says anything. I never tried attacking him. I assume it'd be a bad idea. But the Great Jar's arsenal is a lovely talisman that increases your equip load exponentially. So you see I'm at 76.4, and this puts me to 90.9. The Great Jar grants this talisman to their warriors. Carry as much as you can. Grow big and strong. So this is interesting, right? This talisman was derived from an unusual greatsword once wielded by a hero hungry for vengeance. And not exactly, but it looks similar to a few other weapons, 3 other greatswords in the game. So it makes you kind of think who is hungry for vengeance in this world and why. And we can think of a few greatsword wielders. We can think of Blythe. We can think of the greatsword that we get from... not Stormvale, the other castle I never remember the name of, that's in Weeping Peninsula, but there's a few notable greatswords and a few notable greatsword wielders. But in terms of people that actually are wielding greatswords, Blythe is the only one that comes to mind. So it's interesting to consider who that hero could have been. But I just got to notice that our food is here, so I'm going to go ahead and stop for some family time, and we'll pick this up another time. So as always, this is Eugene the author saying thank you so much for being here. You could have watched anything else and you chose to spend this time with me. You're awesome, be amazing, you already are. Take care, dreamers.